What's up, nerds, and welcome to the Nerd History Podcast, a proud part of the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network, in your home for celebrating the nostalgia that shaped nerd culture. Today, I'm Radio Matt, the director of content and resources for Love Thy Nerd, and with me today and forevermore, hopefully, is my beautiful bride, Deidre.
Hello.
We are the Nerd Historians, and today on the show, we are taking a look at the history of Doctor Who 2005, the revival of the original show that took the Doctor Who lore to new heights and gained popularity worldwide with a brand new generation, which debuted on March 26th, 2005.
Wow.
20 years ago.
We weren't even married yet.
Yeah, we weren't married when it debuted.
Planning.
That's crazy.
Planning, but
I don't think I've ever put that together. Yeah. Wow. The original run of Doctor Who aired on the BBC from 1963 to 1989, introducing audiences to the first 7 incarnations of the Doctor and establishing a vast, iconic science fiction universe pretty much alongside Star Trek. It's like America had Star Trek, the original series, and England had Doctor Who. And it's crazy that there haven't been more connections. I think the only connection that they have is a mobile game that they did together.
that's weird.
Like last year. Yeah. It's like,
Okay.
like, how did we not have some sort of crossover? Somehow, somewhere.
And so it's like they're trying each other out on this
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
game. Okay.
After its cancellation, the show's mythology continued in novels and audio dramas, which are, especially the audio dramas, still a very ongoing thing. Like, all of the incarnations of the Doctor from the 2005 revival, as well as some from the past, like the main actors, companions, the actual people, voice a lot of these audio dramas, and there's quite a few of them.
That's cool.
River has her own set of
Okay.
audio dramas.
Okay.
Like, there's all these stories out there that we're not seeing on the big screen. I don't know how they count vis-a-vis if they're canon or not to the main story. But anyway, it's a big thing. And then it returned briefly in 1996 in a TV movie starring Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor and Eric Roberts, Julia Roberts' father, as the Master.
Okay. Cool.
It was hoped that this movie would spark a revival of the series in the 90s.
It did not.
It did not. It did not spark full revival, but it maintained the Doctor's presence in the public consciousness, right? So this kind of bridged the gap between the 1989 cancellation and the revival that finally happened in 2005. Brought the series roaring back to screens worldwide. Now, I discovered Doctor Who in like 2012.
Right.
It was just after we moved back to our hometown here. And the series, I guess, at that point had already been on a long time.
Right.
Like, we were on the tail end of the 11th Doctor already by 2012. And so that's kind of, I believe that's kind of the best time to discover a show. Because you find something that you realize that you love, and you've got several seasons of it to binge and just
Right.
hyper fixate on in a short amount of time and become obsessed with and really, really love. And then you get to join in with the rest of the world's excitement as new episodes and new seasons come out and new announcements of who's the next Doctor. And like, the whole world is doing this and you didn't even know it was happening, but now you're a part of it. You know, it's exciting.
Yeah. And so when that happens, he binges the entire show.
Yes.
And then he's like, babe, you need to watch this.
Yes.
And then he binges it again
Yes.
with me.
We did that. And then we binged it again
With my
your parents.
parents.
So
Yes.
I got to binge it
Yes.
3 times in succession. And I have no regrets. So good. Watching stuff with your parents is some of my best memories.
Yeah,
We did
Smallville.
24,
Yeah.
Smallville, Doctor Who. I think we did Battlestar Galactica, which I wasn't super into.
Yeah.
But those were the main three that I remember. I'm like, that was
Did we
just
do
a good
Stargate?
time.
Did we watch Stargate with them, or did we just borrow it?
They just had it and we borrowed it. But anyway, that's fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, of course, brought you in. And when I say hyperfixate, I mean it. The wall behind me has dozens of Doctor Who collectibles. You can see the Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver up there on top of the T.
Man, I should have had that.
I've got quite a few TARDISes, quite a few of these little Titan figurines of the Doctors. I've got, of course, Funko Pops of a lot of the Doctors and even some special ones. Like there's Dr. 10 with his 3D glasses on.
Oh, yeah.
Got River Song down here. Dalek up there. Cyberman back behind me. The Silence. What else? I have the Silence.
I forgot it.
Oh. And then the Silence inside jokes.
You turd. I was trying to make the joke.
Oh, you were doing. I forgot we had the Silence.
I was like, I forgot about that.
We both had that idea. That's great.
Did you know I have Doctor Who at my office?
Remind me.
I have a pencil holder
Oh, right.
police box.
I forgot
Yes.
about that. Yeah. And you have some TARDIS earrings
I do.
as well. Yeah.
And I can get away with wearing those because they look very generically, like they're brass. They're not like the color of the TARDIS.
Right, yeah.
So I can totally wear them around. Nobody knows. Yeah.
But we both got pretty into it for a long time.
Yeah.
Because we both love sci-fi. We both have been in love with Star Trek and Stargate for forever. But yeah, Doctor Who was just like this brand new world we discovered.
Yeah.
Loved it. So we're going to talk about the entire run of the second era of Doctor Who, which is the 9th Doctor through the 13th Doctor.
Okay.
We're not going to be talking about the newest Doctor Who so much because as it is, taken over by a new production company, Disney Plus and Bad Wolf Productions together, putting it together, it's recognized pretty much universally as a new
thing.
Era.
Okay.
Like the third era of Doctor Who.
Okay.
It's not counting the same, like original Doctor Who had seasons, counted 1 to however many, there are a bunch. This Doctor Who had series 1 to, I think, 13 or 14, somewhere around that. 12, I don't know. And now they're back at seasons again, and it's season 1 that just finished, season 2 coming out shortly. So
new thing.
New thing. So we're sticking with this section. And
It's
because
my favorite anyway.
It is. And because it is the nature of this show, just a reminder, we're going to be talking about things that you might not want spoiled if you have never watched it and you plan to. So if that is the case, turn this off. Come back later.
Can I just go, spoilers?
River Song down there. It's your spoiler warning for the show. Here we go. So let's dive in. Series 1, 2005, 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Primary companion, Rose Tyler, played by Billie Piper. We also got our first glimpses of Captain Jack Harkness, who was introduced mid-season and along for the ride for a couple episodes. Initial thoughts of the first series is, oh boy, that was low budget.
Right. They were trying to get off the ground.
It was, yeah. It was clear that BBC was like, here is $7. Prove to us that this show can make it on its own.
I can make it on my own. Oh, it's like I said, the heart of a champion.
And they did a good job. Like I think of it a lot like the first season of The Office.
Yeah.
Because you talk to somebody who only ever watched some of the episodes of the first season of The Office, they're like, I don't know why anyone likes that show. I'm like, oh, you're breaking my heart. It takes time for the show to find its balance, but not long. It literally 7 episodes in, you're golden. There's 6 episodes in the first season of The Office. You get to that 7th episode, season 2, first episode, you're in. You're locked in. Dundee's episode comes in, you get it. Same thing here. I'm pretty sure it's 6 episodes in where we get to the episode called Dalek, which is where we meet the ultimate enemy of the Doctor. We meet a Dalek that has been stranded, and we learn about the actual, well, we begin to learn anyway, about the Time War and everything that had happened in between the last time we saw the Doctor and now, at least little bits. We get the first glimpses of it. And that starts to hook you. As someone who had not watched Doctor Who at all, had no idea of the lore at all, I knew the Daleks existed because of things like Rugrats. You know, like I've seen that shape of thing places, but that's about it. And so when you get to that episode and you see like the passion and the yelling and the just the beautiful dichotomy there.
Your race is dead. You all burn, all of you. 10 million ships on fire. The entire Dalek race wiped out in 1 second. I watched it happen. I made it happen.
And then the fear that, because that was the episode that we thought, oh gosh, Rose Tyler is going to die. It has been 6 episodes and Rose Tyler is going to die already. Like, that was gripping.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I saw that episode, I'm like, okay, I'm watching the whole thing. Like, I knew it was going to grab me and keep me. What about you? Was there an episode in season 1 with the first Doctor, or the 9th Doctor, that grabbed you?
I don't know. I was kind of intrigued from the beginning. The first one with the, wasn't it the mannequins?
Mannequin people, yeah.
Right.
The plastic men. Oh, that was where we got that low budget thing where with Mickey, like the plastic man, it disguised itself as a trash can, like a street trash can. And Mickey tried to open it and his fingers were stuck into it. It's pulling out. And one scene, it's obviously CGI. But then the next scene, it's just like literal taped plastic to his fingers, kind of wafting. And it is like they hope you don't notice that it's horrible looking. We had so this was the episode or the season that had the empty child and the Doctor dances, which was like the first 2-parter that we got from Doctor Who, which was a common thing in the previous series. In fact, it was common in the original series that they had a storyline that would span like 5 or 6 episodes. We don't really get that all that often. But we do get a lot of 2-parters in this version of Doctor Who. And this was kind of the first one. And this was the Are You My Mummy episode with the kid that had the...
Yeah, that was creepy.
I loved it.
That was creepy.
It was creepy. But the story itself and the resolution and the everybody lives.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives.
That was like the second time. I'm like, okay, definitely watching all of it. This feels so good right now. You know, the show has such a great track record of making you feel good, making you feel scared, but then making you feel great at the end of the episode.
That's true. Yeah.
The fun thing with this is that they did not shy away from doing an overarching story in the background, which was Bad Wolf.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, did they start that right away?
They did.
Because I couldn't remember.
It was in the second episode, I believe.
Okay.
Because the second episode, I believe, is when they went back. Might have been the third episode. They went to New Earth in the second episode. I don't think they said anything about Bad Wolf there.
Okay.
But in the third episode, they did going back to the past. I don't remember exactly which one of the past episodes it was, but there were ghosts. And anyway, someone said the big bad wolf, in that episode. And that's where we started seeing Bad Wolf play out.
Wolf everywhere.
I love the way they pulled that off. Like, where is this coming from? How do we keep seeing this? Why does it keep echoing every place that they go?
Right.
And then we find out she did it. And it was her. And she didn't know it.
How cool is that?
It's really cool. The episode at the end was very cheesy.
It's cheesy.
Oh gosh. She absorbs the time vortex from the heart of the TARDIS, right? And she defeats the bad guys and sets everything right as like this almost godlike figure at the end of that episode. And then she goes, "My head, it hurts." And he says, "What?"
I think you need a doctor.
I want to pull my eyes out at that scene. That is the corniest bullcrap of the whole season. Maybe the whole series. That was the worst moment for me.
Oh, gosh.
But I'm sure a lot of people were like, "Oh, yay," because they kiss. Even though it's not really a kiss, it's him sucking the time vortex out of her. And then he sucks it out. He has it in his body for all of 2 seconds and spits it back into the TARDIS. And then he dies? Like, he has to die? But she didn't have to die, and she held it in for so long?
Right.
And she's human, and he's got 2 hearts? I don't know. That's a little bit, I'm like, well, okay. We didn't quite stick the landing with series 1. I believe it was always I don't know this for certain, but I'm almost certain I have read it, that it was always the intent that he was only going to be the Doctor for 1 season because they wanted to show off the idea of regeneration quickly for this new era and new watchers.
Oh, okay.
And that is what we get at the end of season 1. He dies, and when doctors die, they regenerate basically into a new person, new body, new mannerisms, but same memories. And we get the 10th Doctor, which was David Tennant, probably the most popular of the Doctors. Series 2 in 2006. Companion still Rose Tyler, Billy Piper. This was really fun because we got to see how this transition would work. And in that season, we were Billy Piper. Like, Rose Tyler was basically the surrogate for all of us watching. Like how can we accept? Yeah, how can we accept a new person, a new actor in the same role?
Right.
And have it make sense.
Right. What other show does that?
None good. None worth knowing about.
We're going to make you fall in love with this guy. Then we're going to kill him off and bring back another guy.
Right.
Who's supposed to be the same guy, but different.
Same guy, but different.
Yeah.
Brilliant character. Brilliant actor. Did a fantastic job. I have almost no negative things to say about his entire run. And his run was pretty long.
It was.
So in that second season, the overarching thread for that one was Torchwood.
Okay.
The establishment of this kind of secret government agency that used alien technology to defend the planet in ways that the Doctor would not approve.
Okay. I think I remember that.
Remember that?
And it was the lady.
It started off, well, it technically started off in the past where the Queen of England began a thing, which we learned later in that season. But yes, we learned that it is like a revitalized, still going program utilizing alien technology now. And we learned that in the very first episode, the Christmas special, the first episode of that season, where Margaret Jones, no, not Margaret. Was it Margaret? There were so many Joneses.
I don't remember.
Harriet Jones. So many Joneses. Anyway, destroys an alien ship that was already leaving in peace. Yeah. And so we got to see a lot of range of David Tennant just in that first episode. It was pretty good. Standout episodes, School Reunion. This is where we got to see Sarah Jane Smith and K9, two characters from the original series.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Jane Smith was a companion for a while. K9 was a robot dog because, of course, he was.
Because. Yeah. Why not?
The Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen, which is where we finally got Cybermen back into this era. They were wiped out, I believe, in the original timeline, and they came back from a parallel universe.
Oh, okay.
Which was the universe where Rose Tyler's dad was still alive, and all that stuff that they accidentally traveled to. This one. Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, which was this kind of heartbreaking finale to the season where Rose Tyler gets trapped in that alternate reality. And it's basically the end of the original Rose Tyler run. And it was heartbreaking. I don't even know if I want to rehash it. It was just so it was hard. It was a great finale.
Yeah.
Super emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember just sitting there, and I'm sure you had the same reaction, but I remember just sitting there going, no way, they just did that.
Right.
Well, this is real? This is happening? This is the end of it?
Right. Again, I mean, there's been so many times that they just fix it in the end, and you're
Right.
like,
why are we fixing it?
Where's
What's
the
happening?
fix? Are we fixing this? What's going on?
I will say this, and I've said this before on other things. One of my favorite things to do on Earth is watch other people reacting to these things for the first time on YouTube. And Doctor Who is normally the thing that I run to the most.
Really?
For I want reactions. I go to the big episodes. I'm like, I want to see this person flip out like I flipped out. And it rarely disappoints. But I would say my favorite episode in series 2, and I'm willing to bet you'll agree with me,
Okay.
is The Girl in the Fireplace.
Okay, you'll have to remind me what that is.
Mickey's with them. They end up on a spaceship where there's no people. But they keep seeing like
Continue.
body parts fused into like systems. Like they see a heart that's pumping like fluid somewhere else. And then they find a fireplace. And the Doctor looks in it, and through the other side, there's a little girl, a Victorian era little girl.
I think I remember that.
And then he says he's going to come over there, and he goes over there, and she's older. And every time he goes back to the ship and comes back, she is aged even more. And they kind of quickly, well, she develops this long time fascination with him and falls in love with him over time because she's living her whole life with him popping up every now and then.
Right.
To him, it's happening in 30 minutes.
Right.
But Lady Madame de Pompadour, that was her name. She is basically being hunted by these clockwork men, these robots that made like clocks. They have all the gears and winds up. And they're waiting for her to be mature enough, like body-wise, so they can harvest her brain to be basically the driving force behind the ship.
Of the ship.
Yeah. And it's because the ship was named like the SS Madame de Pompadour or whatever. And so they got fixated on her, thinking that it was her that could save the ship since all the people were gone. But the brilliant part of it was like he saved her, right? And then he's going to take her Like he's going to have her come with him and everybody else. The time travel thing. He's gone for 2 minutes, comes back, and she's already passed away.
Oh,
she dies early at like 30 something. Do you not remember this episode?
I remember it, but I didn't remember the end.
Oh, yeah. Like he goes there and like the guy that was in love with her in real life tells him about what happened and all this. She left a letter for him to read. And it's like, this is one of those few early episodes where the episode ends with him obviously broken, you know, but not wanting to let it show to everybody else. Just like, this is what happens to him. He loses everybody. And so then again, that's why it hurts so much, where again, at the end of the series, he loses the actual girl that he's in love with.
Right.
Rose Tyler.
Right.
So it was a hard, emotional season and a great one for David Tennant.
Right.
Torchwood did also spin off as a series, I believe directly after this season ended.
I didn't know that.
Eventually Jack Harkness being the leader of it. And it lasted for 3 seasons. Torchwood became like the adult version of Doctor Who. Like it was more geared towards, Doctor Who has been geared towards mid-range, family-friendly, you know, teenagers and up. Though a lot of kids watch it too. But Torchwood was geared to like 16 plus, like PG-13 or higher. They had a Cyberman that was a lady that they had just cut every bit of robot skin off of, and it was basically a Cyberman in a swimsuit. It was the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Cyber woman with cleavage. That's what it was. It was the strangest. Like I saw that episode, I was like, I can't keep watching this. This is just that. There's no reason for this.
Wow.
Like, let's make it more adult on purpose.
Right.
So anyway, series 3 is David Tennant again, brokenhearted, Dr. 10, brokenhearted, lost Rose, meets Martha Jones in a very fun episode with the Jadoon on the moon. And this is where we see her. We see the emergence of Mr. Saxon references, who is running for prime minister. And that becomes the overarching storyline in the background, which is always one and it's always fun. The 10th Doctor, reeling from that loss of Rose, Martha Jones almost immediately falls in love with him, and that becomes the dynamic that they have. They go on adventures. He invites her along. They go on adventures. She's in love with him. He can't see her, you know, at all in that way. And that lasts that whole season. And one of the few main companions that we don't lose to tragedy. She just, at the end of this season, I'm done. Gives the doctor her cell phone that he had already doctored up to be able to call back and forth. Said, I'm going to call you on that one day and you better come running, you know. And we see her a couple more times throughout the series. The Martha Jones season was fun. Martha Jones, I wouldn't say is my favorite companion, but I think that's mainly because of that tension. It was uncomfortable.
Right. And
I don't think that's her fault
we had
or the actress's fault.
So in love with
Rose. Yeah,
Rose,
it's hard to replace her.
So
Freema Gaiman. I don't know how to say the last name. But anyway, she did a great job as the character.
Yeah.
Still love her. A few episodes in this season that were of note. Human Nature and the Family of Blood, 2-parter, where this race of aliens who actually scares the doctor is hunting him down and have nearly caught them. And so he does the only thing that he can do, basically becomes human. He has this pocket watch that he allows to absorb all of his Time Lordness. I don't know the science behind it.
Timey-wimey stuff.
And then he does not appear to anybody as the doctor. He has one heart. He ages, all that kind of stuff. And they have to basically hide. Martha is a servant at the time because she is black, and time period permitting, that's what would have happened in that case. And we see kind of that dynamic play out in the two-parter as well, where she's kind of expected to keep quiet and
refuses.
refuses 'cause she's Martha Jones. And that establishes the pocket watch thing as well, which will come back later on. Pretty good set. It's not my favorite two-parter, but it is important. It's an important two-parter because it lays that groundwork for the pocket watch, which becomes necessary. That would lead into the finales, which are Utopia. Oh, this was that three-parter. That's right. This is the first three-parter. Utopia, The Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords. So in Utopia is where we meet Mr. Yana, Dr. Yana, who is, I mean, it's like year 1 billion or something on Earth. Like it's the end of time. And he is this person trying to save the last of humanity and go to some mythological utopia on this rocket, but they can't get the rocket to launch somehow, some way, wibbly wobbly, whatever. So the doctor helps and they go up, but he keeps complaining of the pounding in his head. Bum, 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 bum. He's had it all his life and he can't get it to stop and he doesn't know where it comes from. And at the end, he's like complaining that nothing he does works. Everything that he touches breaks. Even this pocket watch that he's been holding on to so long has never worked. It's broken. And Martha sees the pocket watch and says, "Where did you get this? It looks identical to the doctor's. Have you ever opened it?" And he goes, "Why would I open it? It's broken." You know, he's got that because it had that perception filter on it. So the doctor wouldn't want to open it. That's the other thing that was made known in that first two-parter. So like it exists, it's kept special and safe, but at the same time, the doctor almost doesn't see it. Yeah. And so Yana opens it and he realizes he's the master. He gets all his memories back. The master was hiding in the end of time, ran from the doctor to the end of time and hid his identity in this watch so the doctor wouldn't come and kill him. And now he's back and the doctor's here and he's got the perfect way to escape. He steals the TARDIS. And that leads us to the fact the other two episodes where we go back. He regenerates. He is younger now. They went back to basically the beginning of the season around that time where we see he's Mr. Saxton, the person that's running for prime minister. And by the time the doctor and Martha and Jack Harkness return, he's already prime minister. He just won. Good three-parter. The reveal of Yana it was the...
I remember that.
What was the guy's name? The face of Bo.
Oh, yeah.
The face of Bo called the doctor for one last message and told him, "You are not alone." And then we get that big reveal. And they did such a good job of it in the production of the show, looking at the word Yana on the screen where they were communicating back and forth. And it's just, why you?
You are not alone.
And and the fear in the doctor's eyes when he realizes it, and it's just so beautiful. It was beautifully done. So many of these moments are just so powerful. Best episode this season. Now I know you'll agree with me on this. Blink.
Oh, well, yeah.
The Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
A doctor-liked episode. The doctor's barely in it.
Really?
Barely in it.
Okay.
But this is where we meet the Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
The nicest.
Do you have one of those?
I do, somewhere. The nicest
Keep your eye
bad
on
guys in the universe. They zap you into the past and let you live to death.
Right.
And they feed off of the time energy that you would have used having lived the rest of your life normally. I don't get it. But I don't know how that works. But
It's
whatever.
nice, you know.
But it made you afraid of statues. They could not move if you were looking at them. So they were like statues, angels. They're always looking down in their hands like this, the weeping angels. You turn away and suddenly they're right behind you. And they're about to get you. Fantastic enemy. Fantastic introduction. And then we get more weeping angels throughout the seasons, and they get progressively scarier.
They do.
And so good every time they show up. I don't think I hate any of the episodes involving them, but it's terrifying.
Yeah. I remember, because Doctor Who is a little more creepy than most things I watch. And I remember there would be times where we would be watching Doctor Who, you know, and get into these creepy episodes. And then I would be like, okay, we have to watch an episode of The Office before we go to sleep. Because I have to.
We had to establish that rule. I have to get out of this fear.
To get into a funny mood to go to bed.
Oh, man. All right. Series 4, 10th Doctor still. This, one of my favorite series. Companion, Donna Noble. Yeah. We met Donna Noble first the previous Christmas. Like, she's the one that we get before Martha Jones, just for one Christmas episode where she's going to be getting married. Turns out that her fiance is in league with this weird spider. The Christmas episodes are whack. And I think
it's like on purpose now, right?
It kind of. I mean, they make a joke about it in Community, where their fake Doctor Who is, what was it called?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. I don't remember. If you keep talking, you'll remember.
Anyway, they have a fake version of Doctor Who in Community, and they go to the convention for it, and he meets up with another fan who is also eventually in Doctor Who as a character in a couple episodes.
That's cool.
They meet him, and they go, "Did you see the Christmas episode?"
Toby, did you see the Christmas special? Horrible. But when you consider what it set up, brilliant.
Like, that's how they are. They're always really dumb episodes, but they always set up something cool.
Yeah.
And so they're necessary. Anyway, Donna Noble, who didn't want to see him ever again at the end of that episode because her life got flipped all upside down in West Philadelphia, born and raised. Last time she met Doctor Who, the Doctor, suddenly we find out now, since then, she's been chasing that dragon. Like, her life, suddenly she could not go back to working in the office. She could not keep a job. She couldn't do anything. She just had to do what he did, hoping that she would run into him again. And she does in an episode about living fat. Little fat guys. Guys made of fat.
They were so cute.
They were adorable little,
so
terrible things. Horrible things. But yeah, we met her. She wanted to go on. Donna Noble is played by Catherine Tate, who, if you are a fan of The Office, you'll know as probably the least likable character besides the one that tried to seduce Jim. The redheaded British girl that was in the last few episodes or seasons. But anyway, she's fantastic. If you hate her from The Office, you'll love her in Doctor Who. She's fantastic. Same kind of mannerisms and character. That's who she is. But she's brilliant. That dynamic, which was actually given the moniker the Dr. Donna dynamic in that season, was just absolutely hilarious and at times heartwarming.
And it was nice to have because like there had been romance between characters and you eventually were just like, okay, whatever.
Right.
And it
like,
was nice for them to just be friends.
Did they just get in love every season. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they even play into that immediately in that first episode where they're kind of feeling out whether or not she's going to come along with him. And he says, I just want to mate. She says, you just want to mate.
You're not mating with me, sunshine.
A mate. I want a mate.
There's no a mate. And so that's what it is. And that scene also just kind of sums up their whole dynamic through it as well. It's very, very fun. The overarching storyline in that was the bees disappearing, and then the return of Rose.
Okay.
Because she knew what was coming. We see her in the first episode. It's like the big reveal at the end, and then she kind of fades out. They figured out a way to come back from that universe, not fully and not forever, but they know something big is coming, and she's trying to prevent it. And that is the Stolen Earth and the Journey's End. This is this big crossover that features the Daleks, Torchwood, Sarah Jane, Martha, Rose, of course. Like it's like a big everything that we've done all piles into this episode.
Smash right here.
Yeah. And then we even get another doctor. The hand that got cut off in the Christmas episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, it becomes a tragic ending for Donna, though. Donna doesn't die, but she absorbed like Time Lord consciousness or something. Like she accidentally became part Time Lord, and human brains aren't meant to handle that, and it was starting to fry her brain. And so the only way to save her was to erase her memory of everything that happened.
No, please, no.
Golly. That's almost more heartbreaking than her dying.
Right.
All this amazing stuff. You can't remember any of it.
Zap.
But the best episodes, two-parter. Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead.
Donna Noble's in the library.
Donna Noble has been saved. But also the first episode I go to find any reaction to. It's where we see the introduction of River Song. River Song, who somehow knows everything about the Doctor. Even eventually claims, and doesn't claim, but alludes heavily, that they are married.
And you're like, excuse me.
And
He belongs to Rose.
And he is also like that. He's like, what are you talking about? I have never met you. How do you know my name? But this would be the start of, I think, one of the most brilliant ideas that the writers behind Doctor Who ever had. And that was an out of order romance
Right.
with this character. We're seeing it. We're seeing a time traveling romance. We're seeing it from the Doctor's perspective. And so every time we meet River Song, which is many, many times over the next few seasons, we're seeing it out of order. It's phenomenal. And so we basically end with the end. Now we do see, I think, 1-2-parter where it's even after that. But for the most part, this is like the ending. This is where she dies. And you have, first time watching it, you don't know who this person is. You have not seen her 1,000 times. You have not had any time to actually like fall in love with this character. But the way that, what was her name? Alex Kingston. The way that Alex Kingston played this character at the end, where she knocks out the Doctor and nobly does this thing that's going to kill whoever's doing it, while she handcuffs him to a rail so he can't get up and stop her. While he's saying, you know, I could save you, time can be rewritten. And she says, not those times.
Not those times. Not one line. Don't you dare.
Don't you dare. Like,
Yeah, I remember that.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's like, when you watch it now, you're like,
oh yeah. After you learn about Oliver, it's even more powerful. But just the fact that they made it so powerful in that moment, and she has a journal that looks like the blue box that is just full of all the times they've been together and done things, adventures they've been on, and he's left with it at the end, and chooses not to look into it. Leaves it in the library. Right where it should be. And that's just the cream filling of the episode. The cupcake of the episode is that it is one of the creepiest episodes with the Vashnarada, the living shadows that eat you. I remember the visual of him taking a chicken leg, throwing it into the shadows, and before it hits the ground, it's just bone.
Right. Yeah.
Living shadows. And so the mantra in this episode is basically count the shadows. Stay in the light, count the shadows.
Yeah.
And if a shadow attaches to you,
you're gone.
Done for. So sorry. And then, of course, they're in those weird spacesuits that has a buffer for your brain, and so when you're dead, it keeps talking for a little while even though you're dead, and then after that it just starts repeating things. Hey, who turned out the lights? Hey, who turned out the lights? Terrifying.
You'll never hear that phrase again after you watch that episode and think the same thing.
I know. Such a good two-parter, though.
Yeah.
Probably the best two-parter, in my opinion. Oh, man. So Donna's fate is often cited as one of the most heartbreaking of the era. And this marked the end of the full seasons for David Tennant, but not the end of his character.
Right.
Surprisingly, he went on to have 5 specials over the course of 3 years.
Wow.
So for Christmas 2008, we had The Next Doctor, where he meets somebody in the past who claims to be the Doctor and has says he has a TARDIS and a sonic screwdriver and all these things. And the Doctor thinks he's meeting the next incarnation or a future incarnation. And he's not. He's meeting some guy that accidentally found something that the Doctor once owned, and it like shot all these memories into his brain, and he thought he was the Doctor. His TARDIS was a hot air balloon. When he shows off a regular screwdriver, he says, I thought you said it was sonic. And so he bangs it on something and says, that's pretty sonic, because it's sound. And we got Planet of the Dead. This was... You know what? I don't even care enough about it to tell you. It wasn't great. It involved a bus and a bunch of other people. It was kind of like a bottle episode again, really, but it wasn't a good one. The Waters of Mars. This was one of those creepy episodes where they had a colony on Mars and they found water on Mars, but the water on Mars turned you into a gross zombie person with cracking skin and green goop and Creepsville. Then we had The End of Time, parts 1 and 2, and this was the return of the Master. But the Master has gone crazy. He's a feral Master. And,
he's already crazy.
No, but he's feral now. He's that. That's literally a scene where he grabs a burger and he just... eats it all up.
Stop it. People are going to
beans
stop.
and fat and cheese and blah. That's
People
what
are
he's
going to
doing.
stop listening.
Yeah. It was pretty good. This was where we saw kind of the return of some of the Time Lords, some like the evil Time Lords. It is implied that we meet his mother, but never explicitly said. And it's also implied that the Weeping Angels are Time Lords that are like punished and sent away. But again, never fully confirmed any time after that.
It's a lot of...
There's a lot of stuff that's implied. Yeah. And so, well, it was a whole race. It was a whole planet, babe. Right. But all this aside, instead of having Donna as the companion, we get Donna's grandfather, who was a recurring character in that series and also a brief appearance in the Christmas episode prior to Donna's season. But Wilfred, which love Wilfred, one of the best non-main companions in the whole show. But he's the main companion for this two-parter. And it's told the doctor has like this prophecy hanging over his head that there will be 4 knocks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like we get that at the basically the beginning of this set of specials over the course of 3 years. 4 knocks will signal the end of your time. And we get 1,000 different versions of 4 knocks in these episodes. Because again, we get the master who had the dum dum in his head, and he still has it in his head, and he still taps like that constantly. But it turns out to be, after all this peril and after all these threats are neutralized and the master and all the rogue time lords are sent packing and everything seems to be good and over and the doctor is won, we hear tapping on a glass. 4 knocks. Wilfred got stuck in a nuclear bunker thing where all this nuclear energy is going to be flooded into. And the only way to save Wilfred is to enter in on the other side so that door will open and Wilfred can get out. And the doctor throws a little tantrum because he thought he got away with it, and now he still has to die. The whole, this is not fair, I'm going to throw everything. Of course it had to be you. Because that's who you are, Wilfred.
You were always this. Waiting for me all this time.
It's beautiful, though. It became a very beautiful moment.
And his famous lines.
Hold on. Yeah, we can't get there yet, though. I'll let you say it, though, when we get there. Okay. But he doesn't die there. He comes out after having absorbed all this radiation, and he's still alive. And Wilfred's hopeful. He'll say, see, you're still here. And he wipes his face after that, and all of his scars go away. He goes, how did you do that? It started. And so he knows the regeneration process is going to happen soon. And what does he do? He goes to get his reward. And so we see this beautiful compilation, basically, of him going and checking in.
Sorry.
On every character in his life that he had met all the way back to season 1, pretty much. We see Sarah Jane Smith and her son and K9. We see... Actually, I don't think we see K9, but we see Mickey and Martha, who turns out they're married now, and they're fighting one of the potato people. We see Jack Harkness at a bar. We see Rose Tyler before she even met the doctor. Like we see all these fantastic characters that have been a part of this series before he succumbs. He crawls his way back into the TARDIS, and as it happens, he says,
I don't want to go.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and he starts to regenerate, and the ship starts falling apart, and then he turns into this even younger version, Matt Smith. He turns into Matt Smith with the long hair and the lanky, even lankier body somehow than David Tennant has.
And you hate him.
And you absolutely hate him.
In the beginning, you're like,
you don't want this.
No.
What's happening? It has been years. Like people didn't want Christopher Eccleston to change after just the 8 episodes or whatever of season 1, series 1. But this was a doctor that we had gotten to know for, what was it? It was like 5 years. 5 years of him as the doctor. So you didn't want that. You didn't want that at all.
Yep.
And this did kind of mark it's not a revival because it's still the same show. It's not a reboot because it's still the same story, but it was a change of tone. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Hey nerds, editor Radio Matt here. So if you can't already tell, we are passionate about Doctor Who, especially me, who could not stop talking for this episode. In fact, we are only about halfway into the nerd history of Doctor Who 2005. And so we have made the decision to split this into 2 separate episodes, with the second part releasing just a couple days after part 1. So when we come back, we will pick up with the 11th Doctor, and we will take you all the way up through the 60th anniversary specials. We hope you're enjoying the nostalgia so far, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon. Subscribe to the Nerd History Podcast via our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@nerdhistoryltn, or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., and find us on lovethynerd.com. We also have our daily Today in Nerd History video short and article that comes out every day at lovethynerd.com with photos and nerdy facts. We'll be back with part 2 this Friday, but until then, I'm Radio Matt, and for Daedra, remember, in the past, present, and future, Jesus loves you, nerds.